Hello and welcome back to Irons United for our final match preview. It's the final game of the season still against Watford. I know you're going to the game. The season's been up and down all over the shop really, hasn't it? But a better season than last season?
I'd say in terms of style of play, it's been better. We've had the usual West Ham shenanigans where we beat big teams and lose to teams around us or teams below us. Watford is one of those teams. They halted our good run of form in December when we won 4 on the trot. And then they came to our stadium and beat us 2-0. So it has been an up and down season. But I think on the whole, I know we were all expecting a lot more to happen with £100 million spend, a manager with a good pedigree. But he's building, isn't he? And we kind of been saying for the last couple of months, it's all about next season now and what he can do to improve. But if we beat Watford on Sunday, and if Leicester lose their game against Chelsea, we'll finish 9th, and that will be progress, albeit small, and it will be an extra £6 million in the pockets of the club by finishing 9th. So there's still a little bit to play for, and finishing 9th won't be too far away from my original prediction of finishing 7th. So yeah,
a little bit away from my original prediction, but anyway, we'll keep that to another day. Still, what's interesting is we're coming up against the FA Cup finalists. Surely, I mean, I'm jealous. Surely there's a form of jealousy. We've got to look at Watford as a whole and think, really, they're above us right now. We're trying to beat them to go above it, but they've had that cup run that we've been so desperate for a while.
What's interesting is if you look at our stats against them, we both won 14 games. They've lost 1 game less than us. Our goals for are similar, 51 to 48 in their favour. They've conceded 55, we've conceded 54, and we've got 7 clean sheets each. So in that respect, we're on par. But what they've done, which we should have done when we should have beat Wimbledon, is they've gone on a good cup run. So they're kind of marginally above us at the moment. So yeah, we look over our shoulders and we think that's maybe should have been us in the cup final this week, the next weekend rather than them. But all credit to them. They've actually got quite a decent squad, to be honest with you. They've got a number of players that are all right. And I
don't know. I think there's a few there that's more than all right, to be honest. And I think that's obviously the whole point of this preview is. And let's go on to that still. Some of their players, I mean, there's no ifs or buts about it. The workhorse, the machine, the muscle man, Troy Deeney up front. Whether you like him or hate him, I genuinely really like the guy. He is a workhorse off the field. I see that he does a lot of training with a guy, Jamie Velocity Training, who also is the main trainer for Anthony Joshua. There's a lot of impact training that he does. I think a few years ago he used to get slagged off because he carried a little bit of extra weight. But he's worked on that cardiovascular training, but also toned up dramatically, and he just absolutely bosses defences around and scores goals.
Yeah, he's done what we were blaming Antonio of being a little while ago. Deeney's toned up, and Antonio is now sort of getting to that stage. Whereas Deeney, though, has been delivering for quite some time. And he's been very consistent. And we all love to hate him because he's one of those players that sort of gets under your skin. But you can't deny he's been bossing it. He's one of their top goal scorers, 9 goals this season, alongside Deulofeu.
He's got 5 assists as well.
5 assists, so for a striker, that's not bad, to be honest with you. And all credit to him. He takes his football seriously. The fact that he's actually doing that sort of personal training to keep himself toned and to keep himself on the ball is all credit to him. And I think that kind of runs through that squad in a way. I think their manager has done really well with them.
And to be fair, there are goals kind of coming throughout their team. If you look at what their predicted lineup will be, I mean, you mentioned him there, Deulofeu. I mean, for me personally, we were linked to him at one point. I think he's a great player. At one point, was playing in the winger, was well known as a winger, to be honest, in his previous career. And then obviously Watford have kind of pushed him a lot more up front. He's fast, he's pacey, he's got a good trick on him, but he's got goals in him as well. He's got 9 goals this season.
9 goals.
And then you work your way back. I mean, Andre Gray, who another player West Ham were linked to, plays off the bench and has got 7 goals this season.
7 goals.
Pereira, he's got goals in him, and so that's just 4, 5 players I've mentioned there. Then of course you've got Hughes, who in actual fact, if you remember last season, wasn't it? He single-handedly kind of took us apart at Vicarage Road. He just had a man of the match performance. I think he's found himself back in the team again. So they've got players there, but like you said, they do concede goals. You mentioned their 55 goals conceded, and they're kind of on par with us, but you can't help but have that form of jealousy. They've got this FA Cup, but that might be, this is their rehearsal. This is their biggest game before.
This could work to our favour, because you don't know what their manager's going to do. He might decide that he's going to want to rest. Garcia might decide he might want to rest 1 or 2 players, so that they don't get injured for the final. Because it's a great opportunity for them. It doesn't matter who you're playing. The fact that they're playing City is kind of irrelevant. They're there. Yeah. So you could see him, maybe not playing a couple of players because he knows what they're capable of. And giving them that week that game not to get injured, etc., and really going for the final. So that could play into our hands. But then you've just mentioned Andre Gray will come off the bench, might start a game, and he's got goals in him. So they've got decent strength in depth, really. And it's not the sort of thing that you would expect from a team like Watford. You kind of think that mid-table team, they might do all right, never get much further than mid-table. But they've kind of proved all their critics wrong, and they've done really well. And but you're right, their the cup final next weekend after next could be a blessing for us. Garcia might drop a few players for it. Absolutely.
If you are watching this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have videos coming out every single day, pretty much, all things West Ham. Obviously, hit the thumbs up and get your comments in below and let us know your thoughts on the game against Watford. And, is it their dress rehearsal in preparation for the Man City game? Because recently still, they've actually not been in the greatest of form. They've had 1 narrow win, which has come against Huddersfield in the last 5 matches. Which I suppose has probably shown that they've put their focus into the FA Cup in particular, knowing that one of the biggest games of the players' careers are coming up in the FA Cup final. So that probably brings us on nicely to West Ham, and we will do a season review in the next couple of weeks, just to give you all a rundown of what the predictions we had and what our thoughts were on the season and what we want to do moving forward in the summer, etc. But we are in the current situation, 1 game to go, still coming off 2 wins, 2 great wins. When the pressure's off, we decide to turn up again. And Pellegrini's going for his 3rd victory in a row, and it would just kind of finish off the season nicely, wouldn't it?
It's the irony, isn't it? I know Pellegrini's about to do a press conference. We're kind of waiting to see what team news he might come out with. But I think we can safely say that Anderson and Rice will probably be back in the starting lineup to replace Obiang and Diengana.
And might I add, just it was the player awards this week as well. So Anderson and Declan Rice both walked away with a few awards each. So fair play to them.
Play to them. But it is ironic, isn't it, that we've got all our players fully fit. We've got all our players beginning to play well. Pellegrini's got selection headaches because he's got a plethora of players to choose from, and it's all happened a little bit too late in the day.
At the end of the season,
But that's the story of of West Ham, isn't it? and it's going to be interesting because Pellegrini's been alluding to, he's going to give every player another chance. He's going to look at them in the summer, pre-season. There are players playing for their places now, so I bet a lot of them will be chomping at the bit to start on Sunday, or to even be on the bench. But it's just typical of us that our season has started right at the end, but we have had to. We've been playing really well more than the last couple of games. We've won our last couple of games, but we've been playing really well for probably the past month. The Man United game, etc. The Leicester game, we didn't play too badly, but decisions didn't go our way. So it's been really, really encouraging the last few weeks, and it's ironic that it's been really encouraging because Arnautovic has decided to.
I was just going to say to you, and again, he's just turned up. The man that potentially you could say derailed our season completely.
Not potentially, definitely.
Did.
There's no two ways about it.
It completely derailed our season and decided to finally turn up and looked like the player that we knew before all these issues had happened. And it's just happened 2 games before the end of the season, and you're a bit like, oh. But, we had a while ago, we had Chris Akabusi on our show, and he predicted when probably no one else was going to predict that Arnautovic is going to stay. And when you look back and listen to that podcast that we've done with him, I understand his thinking behind it now. And, there's probably not going to be any other interest in Arnautovic because of his age and the problematic signs and all that sort of stuff. So keeping him there and bringing in, invested into that squad is going to be massively important for West Ham. And on that, this is probably going to be a farewell to quite a few of our players on Sunday still. I mean, Perez, Chicharito, Adrian, Obiang, just to name a few, potentially.
There's going to be... I don't know, we kind of, on our Facebook page, I've put up lists of players that could go, and I've been slated for, suggesting that we might be getting rid of an awful lot of players, but I predict that we will. I predict that quite a few players will be going, but an awful lot of those players will be peripheral or to the squad. Players that are out on loan, players that just haven't made it in the first team. And there'll be a small number of players that have been in the first team squad. So the names you've just mentioned, Hernandez is going to go, Perez is going to go, Carroll's gone already. Obiang wants to go, Ogbonna could be going, Adrian's at the end of his contract. So there's quite a number of players there that, we will be saying goodbye to. And will it be sad to say goodbye to some of them? I think, let's take Obiang, for example, who's had great potential and just hasn't really quite shown it, which is a damn shame because.
And it's a shame because he has had a chance as well. He has had one of games, yeah. And it's a shame, because clearly he's not happy. There's rumours he wants to go back to Italy, suits him better. So fair enough, Hernandez has been, playing hot and cold all season. I know he's your favourite, but he's going to go. He's going to go off to Spain and, play. With regards to that, I mean, I've just, just came to West Ham at the wrong time, probably. Wrong setup.
I think
that's it.
When we first were after him, when Bilic was first after him, if it had come, then he would have been a sensation at West Ham. But I think you're right. He came a couple of seasons, maybe too late, really. I don't know. I think we will be saying goodbye to quite a few players, but that's just the way it is, really. It's a shame. But there you go. I'm sort of sorry, mate. I'm kind of getting distracted. I'm trying to look at some of the comments being made by Pellegrini in his conference at the moment.
Well, I think there was a kind of good chat about Nasri trying to come back and get fit for this game. There's not 100% sure if he's going to make it or not, I think, from what I've heard. I mean, what are your thoughts? Again, we'll do a review of the season and who we should go, but just quickly on Nasri. Has he done enough? Is there enough there?
I would have loved to have said he's done enough because when he came on, he looked really good. But we've got too many players that are injury prone, and we've learned our lesson. We must have learned our lesson from the likes of Carroll, and now the gamble that was Wiltshire. I just, we've had too many injuries yet again this season, and if a player is injury prone, some are going to argue that, because he hasn't played for so long, and then he came and he's played, he's bound to get a few injuries, and maybe a pre-season might see the best of him. But I think it's a gamble too far. We've got Wiltshire's a gamble. Yarmolenko, who came in, had an injury before, came in, played well, been out injured. Sanchez came in, he's been out injured all season. There's just that too many players who are kind of too injury prone. And I'd love to say, let's give Nasri a chance, but I just can't see it. I think there are quite a few players out there that we're being linked with who could come in and do a job as good as, if not better than, Nasri, and who are younger as well. So I'd like to say yes, but I can't see it. I can't see Nasri staying, to be honest with you, and I can't actually see him starting tomorrow either, to be honest. I don't even know if he's going
to be fit enough for it.
Apparently Perez might be injured. Wiltshire looking for a medical assessment. Well, I don't know. Is he out again? Because he played. But I think otherwise, I think we're kind of got a full squad really for tomorrow.
Yep. Get your comments in below. Let us know what your thoughts are on Nasri. Would you like him to stay? Has he done enough? What we'll do is we'll go through the kind of team very briefly. We kind of know roughly what it'll be. We'll do predictions. Let us know your predictions and your team predictions down below. A lot of people have been kind of ripping into Lanzini. Don't get it. I mean, I've social media is a very toxic place sometimes, but Lanzini, some people have been saying he's been a bit slow off the pace, but what do you expect when the boy's been missing for so long? The fact he's playing in the teams are positive, and what's massively exciting about next year still is having Lanzini with a full pre-season under him, having a Yarmolenko with a full pre-season under him, investment into the squad into the summer. Players like Fredericks having a bedding in season to West Ham. It's all bar. I mean, it's an exciting, potentially exciting time.
I saw Nasri play really well last week. Again, all right, you can argue it was against Southampton and no one had anything to play
Lanzini.
for. Lanzini. But that's by the by. I think all the players were showing really good form last week. And I agree with you. I don't get this shit about Lanzini. This is why social media is so fickle. Because 1 minute the player is the best thing since sliced bread, the next minute he's the worst player on the planet. And there never seems to be an in between. And you know what? And I'm going to hold my hand up. I've been, guilty of that as well. And I've got caught up in all that social media crap, and spouting out shit just like everybody else. But the best thing to do is I'll come off it, because I'll have my own opinion based on what I see. I'm blessed to be able to go to as many, as many games as I'm able to, and I can see the players, for myself, and I can make my own informed decision. I don't need someone telling me on social media that the player's shit 1 week and then brilliant the next. And it's a shame. And Lanzini, people don't get that he's been out, as you just said, he's been out with a major injury. We were lucky to see him at all this season.
Yeah. He's done decent considering.
And he's done all right. Okay, he has been slow off the pace, and some may argue that he didn't deserve his place in some games. But you know what? He needed those games in order to get himself fit. Yeah. And I think he played really well last weekend. I think he was excellent.
And at least we don't have a football competition to worry about this summer. Team selection, before we do that, one thing I'm going to say is massive plaudits, and I'm delighted to see Diop and Balbuena maybe hitting a bit of form together again. The two of them, when they did play together, still have been a revelation for West Ham, and it's a nice thing to see as this new partnership growing, and I'm excited to see how that can move into the next season. Fabianski, Hammer of the Year, never really in doubt.
Deserved. Yeah, never really in doubt. Well deserved. Yeah. It's interesting. The players picked Rice as their player of the year, and the fans picked Fabianski as the Hammer of the Year.
But to be fair, I mean, we can't really fault the young lad Declan Rice either.
Not suggesting for a minute that he doesn't deserve it. No, not. But it would have been a close call between Fabianski and Rice for Hammer of the Year. But I think when you look at the performance, some of the performances that Fabianski has played, he kept a clean sheet against Spurs when we won there. There's hardly a game where you can turn around and say he's made a mistake. And I was a doubter when we bought him. I was like, oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was maybe we've probably seen him his career at Swansea after he left Arsenal, and we've all kind of thought, it's not a name we really want. But
yeah,
I was in agreement with you, and I think there was only one other guy in the group who was the positive guy, Dan Fandangos, and he'd written this guy's quality, and you know what? I've got to back up what he said. He has been absolutely quality.
Yeah, he's been immense. And what's going to be important is, we will get onto it with our show next week, is a decent backup for him, because Adrian is going to go. Well, we think Adrian will go because he's at the end of his contract, and will he want to sign a new contract when he knows he's playing?
Not going to play.
So,
and I think what's interesting about the Adrian thing as well is it'd be nice if he did get a nice send off. What I think would happen is, and I think this is what I've learned, is if West Ham are comfortable in the game on Sunday, where there's a 2 or 3 goal cushion or whatever, then and there's a substitution that's left, I think that point you'll see Adrian potentially come on if there is a substitution available. But if the game's sitting at 1-1, there's absolutely no way he's going to make a substitution for a goalkeeper.
Probably right, mate. But we need to be 2 or 3 goals up first before. It would be nice for Adrian to say goodbye. I actually thought it would have happened at Southampton last week, but it didn't. In front of the home crowd. There's a chance, but doing it away from home would be more difficult. Substituting a goalie away from home than it would have been doing it. Pellegrini could have done it. Last week, but we'll see. Yeah,
it looks like Watford they kind of set out in a kind of 4-back line, and they've got these kind of 6 players up top that quite a little bit of freedom. They have the Decor and Capu that kind of sit central in midfield, blocking anyone that tries to come through, trying to protect that defence.
And Capu is their Player of the Year.
Yep. You've got Hughes, who's got a kind of free role on that right-hand side. Pereira's got a free role on that left-hand side. They always come up front as well. Delafeu's fast, he tracks back, and they just leave Deeney up there to do his job. When it comes to West Ham, we all know still Fabianski is going to start. Diop, Balbuena, Fredericks take a bow for last week's performance. He's starting to grow into the side for West Ham. For me personally, I think it's going to be Masuaku over Creswell if Creswell makes it. He's done well the last couple of games.
Yeah, I agree. I think as much as I'm not a massive Masuaku fan, he will start. He's played all right the last couple of games. Can't really sort of say anything bad about him. Yeah.
Noble Rice in there doing the job that they have been doing. Anderson will come back into the side with Lanzini and take about Antonio, because you have transformed quite a lot of West Ham's fans' opinions from the season's start or last season in particular, and Arnautovic as well. Probably will start. Still, predictions. Last game.
I hope we go out there, really play well, play stylishly, and beat them 3-1 away from home. We deserve a win over there. We haven't won there for the last 10 games or so. The last time we beat them at their ground was the 16th of August 2011 in the Championship, when we beat them 4-0. That was the last time we beat them at their ground. And since then, we've lost or drawn. I think we've lost 2 and drawn 1, something like that. Since then, it's been, it's a long time coming, and it would be really, really nice to finish the season off on a high. Because the last month has been quite enjoyable. Like I said, Southampton game, Spurs game, Man United game, they've all been decent performances, decent games, and it would be lovely for us to finish the season with another win, especially there away from home. Yeah, but so I'm being brave. I'm going for a 3-1.
Cool. Get your predictions in below. Let us know your goal scorer predictions and what you think the score will be. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to West Ham away from home to finish off the season with 3 consecutive wins, and we'll finish in the top half of the table. And in considering my original prediction, I'll accept that after what I said before. I'm not going to mention what I had actually said, but anyway, that's like I said, a conversation for another day.
Was it 4th, mate?
I think it was 5th, but maybe it was 4th. I don't know. Maybe I had a few drinks that day and some other tablets. I don't know. Anyway.
But we all predicted finishing high. I don't think any of us in the group said anything lower than 8th. I think
we got excited. We got excited, and that's understandable. We've never spent that amount. Yeah. Absolutely.
And if all our players had stayed injury free, and if a few of the really, really shit decisions had gone our way, over the season, the Liverpool offside goal, which was 1-1, the Man United game, there's been a few games where we've lost points because of decision making. And I know fans will go, well, what about when we got, trashed by Watford at home? What about this game? What about? And I accept that, but still. Having said all that, if a couple of refereeing decisions had rightly gone our way, we'd actually finish comfortably in 7th now.
Yeah,
comfortably.
Absolutely. Well, before we go, we're going to go away and create loads of fake Twitter accounts and troll loads of West Ham fan accounts, because that's what we do, because we've got nothing else better to do with our time. Anyway, make sure you get your comments in before, subscribe, like the channel, all that sort of stuff. This has been our last preview of the season. We'll be back with loads more content over the summer, and come on, you Irons.